And wanted to start off, I think, the group of people we have here today can speak on a lot of different topics. But one of the topics we run into a lot is property condition and how it relates to being able to buy a home and get through the process. And I wanted to start off, Randy, with you first. Obviously, being a home inspector, you're kind of the very first person, besides the consumer or the agent, that gets a chance to really delve into and determine what's going on with the property, what kind of condition, what kind of issues may be there.
Right. And although home inspectors aren't code enforcement, we don't check for code specifically. We do check a lot of the property conditions and things that might be related to code, and sometimes we refer to standard building practices or code and some things that might be wrong. So yeah, the main thing for people to consider when they're selling their home is to maybe have it inspected before they put it on the market.
Sure.
So that a lot of those things
We've talked a lot about that before, and again, I think it's especially important for a property that could be known to have some issues, or inherited properties. A lot of times we get people that contact us that want to put homes that have been on the, that they've inherited or that have been vacant for a while. We had one not long ago that was owned in an estate, and come to find out, Sal, it'd been vacant forever. They hadn't been cutting the lawn. I mean, they had a lot of issues to where you guys had gotten to the point where they'd had enough issues with staying up to code that liens started to accrue. So is that something you guys see a lot of, the vacant properties that have been sitting there for a while, whether it's something someone inherited or whether it's a foreclosure?
Well, yeah, on the inheritance, you might see that a little bit more because, nobody's really stepped up and has taken responsibility to keep that property, up to code. Where we're having some success, though, is with the foreclosure registry program.
Okay.
Once a bank has registered it with us, there's a good chance, there's a very good chance that they're keeping it up to code.
And I think they've gotten a lot better, at least from my experience, what I've seen, the banks have gotten a lot better about keeping the properties maintained. They don't have as much inventory. And I think now they're more focused on being, focused on ensuring the properties, condition is better, because they realize it improves the value if it's in better condition, and they don't have the hassles to deal with, from, code and violations and liens, that it's an easier, smoother sale and they get a better price.
And I'm finding that too. On the home inspection standpoint, when I'm walking into a foreclosure house, we used to find them still full of furniture and in just terrible condition, and now they're generally cleaned up and in
Right.
a lot better
Fannie
condition.
Mae has the Home Steps program, and for those that aren't familiar with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the majority of the foreclosures that hit the market are from Fannie or Freddie, and they have taken a very proactive approach to maintaining and repairing properties, to the standpoint where a few years ago, if you bought a foreclosure, it was going to need everything, and now they're going in ahead of time and cleaning them up. I mean, I saw one the other day that was turnkey granite countertop stainless appliances. I mean, they put some money in it, and they're going to get a better return and a better price out of the house. It's going to be better it's going to enhance the neighborhood, right? Because that value is going to be improved because they spend some time on it. So the foreclosure registry, what that does basically with the city is, so a bank takes a property back, then they register it with you guys, and that's how you guys know who to contact, that you have a contact there instead of not knowing who to contact if there's an issue.
That's correct. And by city code, they have to register within 15 days of that process, of that foreclosure process beginning. And then that allows, what the other requirement they have is that they have to give a contact for us to contact if there is an issue with that property.
Okay. And so, John, speaking on the financing front, so you've got so we're talking about properties that may have condition issues, code issues, and inspection issues. What are some variations or things that you guys have to tweak in order to get a property to qualify? If it's something that needs some work or is in a little bit of disrepair.
Typically, it's a situation where we're going to find out either via the home inspection or oftentimes not until the appraisal. In the case where it's a property that's owned by Fannie or Freddie, they've done a great job with their websites to address what type of property or what type of condition the property is in.
And they're if it's one of theirs, they're gonna they have loan programs that are kind of catered around that, I believe, correct?
That is correct. Okay. Yes.
Because they should know what the property needs, considering they're backing the loan, right?
Correct. Yeah. There's a typical. I mean, homepath.com is typically where you'll find most of the Fannie Mae properties, and there's a HomePath product, and then there's a HomePath renovation product. where if the home needs some moderate or substantial rehab, then there's a loan option available for the buyer to finance the cost of the property, so the purchase price, and the repair costs also in one loan.
And typically, typically a property that's beat up that needs a lot is going to have a hard time qualifying for more of a traditional loan.
Absolutely, yes. And a property that's in a state of disrepair, it's not going to fly through the channel of a traditional loan via a traditional conventional loan or a traditional, FHA loan. That property is going to need a specific loan product to rehabilitate the property.
So Joellyn, on the title front, so we've got, let's say we've got a property that's got some issues, that's had code violations or has condition issues. How does it affect it on you guys' side of things? I mean, what are obstacles that you run into, that they haven't mentioned, whether it's the liens or, what are, I assume obviously liens would be an important part of that.
The most common obstacle we run into is if the property has had some sort of improvement that was not run through the building department.
Right, so it wasn't permitted.
Correct,
Yeah.
and that's our biggest hurdle.
Yeah, and we see that a lot because, it's more common now for, not all title companies, but you guys obviously are one that's very proactive about that because you want to prevent the issues from happening a year or two down the line when, somebody finds out a permit wasn't closed out, or they find out that the bathroom addition wasn't permitted, it isn't on tax rolls, and they're having problems with insurance, and so it's really important if you're out there and you own a property and you're either renovating it, you want to flip homes, you want to be an investor, you want to be a rehabber, whatever it is, pull permit because it's going to come back and be a problem for you if you do not. And you're going to have to probably pay more to cure that issue than it would if you just filed the proper permit. We had one not long ago where a guy had a property in South Tampa with us and did an amazing renovation. I mean, it was gorgeous. You walked into the place and it was just remarkable. But the roof, he had a new roof and it wasn't permitted. And he said, oh, the guy did it over a weekend, said it wouldn't get caught, it'd be a little cheaper. And I'm like, yeah, but people are that's gonna get caught. Like, people are gonna notice that. You kind of, that's a corner that, that you can't cut, so that part of it's really important. And when you're buying a property, certainly be, looking for that. If you look and see that the property had, is advertised that it has a new roof, brand new roof, then look up, make sure that's there. Because if it's not, there could be some obstacles down the road with either getting it closed, getting it, through an inspection, or at some point, with certain things that aren't done, with a permit, then you've got that side of things that could come back and bite you. We've had people that do additions without a permit, and then the city finds out. Somebody calls Sal and says, "Hey, look, this isn't done correct. Can you come out and look at this?" And then structures have had to be torn down or remodified. So really, just do it. And I think Sal, you probably speak to the same thing. Do it ahead of time, right? I mean, why would you do anything other than that?
Right, I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah. So if you have questions about anything we're talking about, whether it's if you have questions about code enforcement, issues in your neighborhood, home inspections, mortgages, anything real estate related, if you want to talk to us, you can call us here in the studio, 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas, and toll free 855-970-9352. Again, it's 855-970 WFLA. We'd love the opportunity to talk to you or point you in the right direction. And so it's interesting. We talked about this, Sal, the last time we had you on the show. You guys changed the name of code enforcement to neighborhood enhancement. And we talked a little bit about it the last time, so if you heard the last show a few months ago when Sal was on, this may be repetitive. But I just think that's just such a sexier name, It just sounds so much better, Hey, this is Sal from Neighborhood Enhancement, and you need to cut your lawn, Whereas this is Sal from Code Enforcement, It just sounds so much better, doesn't it? Just a quick question. Now, when you guys made the change, was the consumer response when you reached out to them maybe a little bit more positive too?
Yeah, I think it softened, our objectives with the public. But it was changed too for that reason, and also we have another component to this unit now that we didn't have a year ago. What I did was I combined what was code enforcement and clean city division into one unit. So that allows us to get into neighborhoods where we can do, you know, two things. We can handle code issues, but we can also handle illegal dumping, right-of-way cleanup, anything like that. We have all sorts of equipment. We have lawnmowers, front-end loaders, we have tree trimming capabilities, we have graffiti removal, we have lightning loaders that can handle large amounts of garbage. So we have a multitude of things that we can do in neighborhoods to improve their appearance.
And I think that's the key. When sometimes people hear code enforcement, you know, they think, oh, you know, they think the police, you know, they think, oh, you know, these are the property police. But in reality, neighborhood enhancement is a better word for it, because what code enforcement's goal is to improve that neighborhood, to improve the values in the community, and to improve the safety.
You're right on, and you know, I have a police background.
Yeah.
And we've even taken it one step further, because the issues go hand in hand, crime and the neighborhood appearance.
Right, because if it doesn't look good, then crime follows,
Exactly.
right?
So I'm hooked in still with the police department. I go to their crime meeting once a month, and we put all the issues on the table, and we get immediate response. For example, in the Sulphur Springs area, just recently, they had an issue where there was large crowds gathering, and there was trouble, and, you know, there was violent crime occurring. And we had the capability of going in there within hours. And one issue that they had was the helicopter could not see due to the heavy tree canopy.
So you guys go cut the trees
We
back.
went back and we cut the trees back so that now they could see.
Yeah.
So those are the types of things that we can get into.
And I think that it's great to see, like, you know, an entity like yours that's using all those different resources to really truly improve, you know. And I think what people have to understand about what you guys do is it's really not only focused about improving safety, but it improves home values in neighborhoods when you're doing those types of things, when you're reaching out. So we're going to continue this conversation. We're going to take your calls. If you've got calls, 990-9352 in Hillsborough and 461-9352 in Pinellas. We have Sal Ruggerio from Neighborhood Enhancement. We're going to talk to our other guests after a quick break here on 970 WFLA.